Thank you for that, David. So it's now time to hear the other side of the story. We've just heard two accounts of cultural differences that Australian companies and Australian business people have experienced when working in and with Koreans. However, Koreans also experience cultural differences and challenges when they live and work in Australia. I'd now like to welcome Julianne Lee, the Business Banking Manager at ANZ, who is going to share her experiences navigating and working in Australia. Thanks, Julianne.
안녕하십니까. Thank you for introduction of myself, and also thank you Consul General Yoon Sang-soo, and also the AKBC who giving me the opportunity to just participate in this wonderful forum. As an individual, I came from Korea when I was in high school, and when I growing up here, I had a difficulty. I challenged myself as culturally. I couldn't identify myself whether I'm Korean or Australian, and I tried really hard to feel into the Australian culture. Having said that, so I am working. Okay. Yeah. So. As a person, as a professionally, at the moment, I'm working as a business banking manager at ANZ Bank, and also I have a title as a president of Calling Businessman Association, which is established Korean Australian business group in Sydney. So I'm very excited to be here. So to presenting, holding myself as a two cultural background as a Korean, as well as the Australian, and as a profession to supporting the community to do the business well, whether the Australian going to the Korea and to doing business to be very successful, as well as the Korean coming to the Australia and then establishing their business and doing business really well. So today I like to explore the. I'm sorry, I just get a little bit nervous myself. This is first time in the AKBC, and I sort of prepared myself a bit more casual, but I think it's just become really formal, so I just got really nervous. So excuse myself. Yeah. So today's my topic is the. To explore and so in my short presentation today, we will navigating the Australian business environment in perspective of Australian business culture. The business culture evolves over the year. It depends on business value and its belief and its business's behavior. To understand better, so we can have a briefly overview and what is distinctive the focus in Australian organization and the general behavior of the business and the business relationship. So what is the distinctive focuses in Australia organization currently? We have a work and life balance and occupation and health and safety and equal employment opportunity in terms of gender, disability, and age, and color, and race. And it's followed by regulation and procedures. Whether you are existing Australian business or the new to the country and building the new business, the regulations and the procedures need to be followed. In my presentation, so first have a look at so then so let's have a look at the general behavior of the business. In Australia, it's more flatter hierarchy in the company. So it is very difficult to find who are top of the hierarchy or the junior. Where the Koreans are, it is very obvious. It is because they taking very seriously about the respect in respect in showing the respect in the position of the business, and as well as elder colleagues, showing the respectation. So in the just for example, in the meeting session, in Australian culture, they encourage to their junior staff to speak about their ideas, and then often reflecting their discussion to be their decision making in the higher management. In Korea, of course, in the meeting, in the industry meeting session, often the employees is kept very quiet, and the business meetings is led by the leader of the business. So, I have an example. A few years back, I had an opportunity to meeting with the delegation of the business from Korea. So we were preparing our meeting in the meeting room, and there were a group of 8 people walking into the business, and walking into the room. There was like a V shape of the business, a V shape of the sort of the group, and then in the middle there was a lead of the group. So I felt like, I'm just looking at the kind of movie in the scene like in the movie. So then instead of that they're working like middle the people, middle lead in the middle, and then the other the hierarchies became followed. In the meeting room, the Australian side of the business, we talked about as a general and very chatty, and then they asking for the information, and of course they were not shy about the introducing themselves. Where the Korean, there was, I remember, only speaker in the meeting. The group was the leader of the business. The next we can in Korean. In Australia, the ISIS group they highlight the team achievement rather than individual success. So when there was a sort of individual success, they like to share their good story, and then they like to achieve the group goal at the end. So maybe we can talk about the business attire. So business attire in Australia is very conservative, but become more the flexible. So for instance, as an example of myself, me as a business banker, when I'm going out and doing the business, when I meet the more corporate business people, I wear more the formal dressing code. But when I go and see the customer that who are in the construction industry, or maybe like more retail business, I like to dress more to casual to make the business more casual, more comfortable. And also in workplaces, we are not encouraging to wear the corporate suit all the time, but although dress code is to be comfortable to work with. So the greetings in Australian business can be formal and informal, but usually in the first two the meeting we do go formal, as usually we do handshake. But whether it is female or male, but the handshake is just normal way to do greet in the first time. However, in Korea, sometimes that there is the bit of the differences how you greet between the two, the females and male. So I have an example. Like a few years back, I have met this Korean male the clients, and I tried to handshake, and I pulled my hand, And then he was quite embarrassed to handshake with me, just because I'm female. And suddenly he's to bow with me. My hands has become really sort of embarrassed, so I have to put my hands back. This is quite unusual because it's in Korean culture. Traditionally, that male and female not to be sort of faced each other or sitting together. So it was sort of prohibited, but as the culture changes, it changes. But still, maybe if you facing Korean like clients who don't want to handshake, it's just not because of they're not used to it. But as I mentioned earlier, there is this equal opportunity, equal opportunity, employee opportunity regulations in Australia, which means if when you go to any other industry of the business, you can see the female figure, and then they're expecting there's no difference to the male. So, but again, so vice versa, that when you go to Korea, that if the female business partner doesn't want a handshake, it's just quite okay, because it's sort of comfortable traditionally that you are not handshake. As an informal greeting in Australia, they can do, as you get closer in the business relationship, they can do sort of light hug, or maybe they can sort of kiss on your cheek. But although this one is very different to their cultural background as well too. So for instance, when I go to see the clients whose background is Lebanese, they like to kiss both cheeks. Where if I go into the clients who are the sort of European background, that maybe the kiss on the one cheek. And sometimes there are various sort of different way to greet. So I think it's good to sort of find out that they have to greet. Making interesting of themselves. If you're not really not so sure about those behavior, I think it's quite okay to ask how to greet in their culture. That makes it more interesting about them, the individual, as well as their business. The meetings is quite in Australia can be quite relaxed and also quite laid-back kind of atmosphere. But it doesn't mean that it's quite relaxed and then sort of laid-back and lazy way. But we're taking the meeting quite seriously. The punctuality is really, really important. And also the preparing of the agenda of the meeting and the keeping the time is quite important. I often find when Korean customer, they say they making the opportunity, but they go sort of importance, they highlighting the importance of the business issues, and often sort of taking extra time, but they sort of thinking this is quite sort of okay to do it. But if that is the case, it's always to ask if it's okay to sort of make another appointment or just asking for the favor if they do have extra time. But also at the same time that when the Australian go to the Korea, when they're making the appointment, just ask try to make it agenda and just make to the other party to know what is the agenda of the business. Sometimes the Korean takes to have a bit of the personal relationship in the meeting, and then can take a more longer time than the you expected appointment time. In communications, the Australian communication is more direct and brief. Sometimes can be very brutal because it's too direct. For myself, I go to so as a business banker, sometimes they will request, and I have to be delivered their request and the agenda very quickly. So in this sense, I have to be very direct and then very summarized. So, but in Korean, when I sort of explain about the result or the outcome of the request, if I become the summarized and then just delivering the message, often get a bit annoyed. It's just because they think that I'm not really trying hard to make it happen, but because maybe I'm treating that kind of their request is not seriously. as Australia, when you go to Korea, if you sort of in the meeting section, if the agent is just too brief or too direct, then maybe they will not really appreciate it. But maybe just explain a bit more, and maybe just a little bit, just put extra indirect sort of sensitive, sort of indirect conversation, maybe sort of ease that conversation. Where the Korean would come to Australia, if the feedback or the communication is too direct, don't get be annoyed, but maybe you can ask the second question: what is the sort of what is the background of this result, or how it made that result? So. Okay, so for the business relationship in Australia, the business relationship, sometimes when they're starting the business, it's just they get down to the business pretty quickly. It doesn't really taking long time to start a business, but whereas the Korean, they like to do it taking more longer time, maybe just to sort of finding out their background, or individual the characteristic to open sort of their business intentions or disclose about themselves. So Australian businesses very direct and appreciate of the brevity. The Australian business does not really appreciate high pressure techniques. Rather, they appreciate about finding their business needs. So they are finding a bit that they need. So it's when the Korean came to Australia, it is okay. It would be a good idea to about their business plan for the long term and short term, and then if there needs, and it's good to ask. So as a conclusion. The Australia is a multicultural business, multicultural society. So there is no right and wrong. But if you find that the differences, if you find that there are any questions, be open-minded and ask a question and enjoy the differences of the different two cultures and enjoy your business. And I hope that sort of get success in the business. Sorry, thank you so much. I really I think I was very nervous in my presentation. So, but again, I hope that this is my presentation. So, helping you for understanding of the business culture. Thank you.